Have you ever met somebody who has an opportunity to help somebody else pretty conveniently, but doesn't do it even when asked? So you go to the grocery store and you see somebody who's in a cast, in a motorized wheelchair, and obviously they're not going to be able to get things high off the shelf. And they see somebody who's also there, says, "Hey, can you grab that box of pasta off the shelf for me?" What if that person said no? How would you feel about that? What about somebody who's getting rich off of the labors of other people and doesn't really care and isn't kind to them, right? Think Scrooge in A Christmas Carol. What do we think about those people? How do they make us feel? Not very good. They don't make us feel very good when we see those situations. Those kinds of situations, those scenarios that whether we read about them or hear about them or see them unfold before us, they don't make us feel very good. The funny thing about it is that we're often guilty of the same thing. There have been a lot of times where I've been in the same boat, right? We're out to eat and somebody says, "Hey Andrew, would you mind getting up, would you mind while you're up getting me a refill?" And I've said no to that before, right? It's not a big deal for me to say, "Oh yeah, of course, I can go get a refill and, what are you drinking?" and bring it back with whatever else I'm doing. But there are times that I just don't. So to flip that and to not be really selfish, but to be generous with our time, our money, and our attention can be such a big change, not only inside of us, but in the lives of those around us that see the way that we interact with the world in a generous way. And this is something I'm definitely working on. Still needs a lot of work, if I'm being honest. If, like me, being generous isn't very natural for you, or you feel kind of behind in it, it's okay. There's so many benefits to being generous. Pursuing generosity is worthwhile because of many reasons. First, it does something to you, right? Like you change a little bit when you do something that makes you uncomfortable, but that's nice for somebody else. There are times that you'll try to be nice to somebody else and they just don't appreciate it at all, and in fact it makes the whole situation worse. And those are really horrible times and situations to be in, and I'm really sorry for when that happens, because it will happen if you try to be generous. And it's really hard not to be bitter or get really sour about generosity as a whole when those things happen, but that's okay. Try to shrug it off and continue to be just a little bit uncomfortable with your time and your resources, because it can be such a big deal, right? It changes you, and then it also changes the way that people interact with you, because when you're generous towards somebody, then they perceive you as a kind person that they can trust, and so when they interact with you, then they're gonna just be a little bit happier, a little bit lighter around you. And on days that you're a little bit down, the generosity that you've shown somebody else comes back in small ways, even if neither of you are really kind of realizing it. But right, being kind to other people makes them kind to you, and hopefully to other people also, and spreads that kindness and that generosity as a result. But it can be reflected back to you in small ways to give you a little boost when you need it, right? And also just increases the depth and the satisfaction in those relationships. So not only in yourself and how you feel seeing the generosity that you give pay off, but also in your relationships with other people as those continue to increase, right? Just think about like at the workplace. If you are working and you say, "Oh man, I'm really having this issue," who are you going to go to the next time you have an issue, right? The person who, the first time that they heard you had an issue, they overheard that you were having the issue, they sensed your frustration, they went over to you and said, "Hey, it seems like you're kind of frustrated, how can I help?" Versus the person who you ask for their help and they say, "That's not really in my wheelhouse, I don't really feel like doing anything about that. You should go talk to somebody else about it," right? Who are you going to go to next time? Who are you going to enjoy working with in general, right? If you have offices or cubicles, who are you going to be happy that's closer to you? The person who's there helping you, being generous with their time and attention towards you. In those cases, there's not necessarily a monetary benefit, right? To going out of your way to help somebody. I was just at a store and somebody was there and he was offering to help everybody around him, and that made me feel kind of inspired to do the same thing for people at my work, right? And so being able to be generous with your time and attention and any resources and expertise and experience that you have, looking for ways to apply those to do good in the world can really spread. And like I said, not only does it change you, but it changes the people that you interact with, even if it's in really small ways. So what are some ways that you can be more generous, right? How do you increase your generosity if you're starting from zero or very little, like I certainly have at different points in my life? And it is, it can go up and down. This is not the most generous I've been in my life. Sometimes you have more resources in time, and sometimes you have more resources in money, and vice versa. As you get more time, then maybe you can spend more time with people, or volunteering, or doing things with that time. And sometimes you'll have just a little bit more money. You'll be really, really busy and find, taking care of kids or spouses, or this relationship that you just got into, or whatever it is. The workplace is really hectic, and it's going to be for a few months, and you just got to live with that. But maybe that means you're working some overtime and you have a little bit of extra money that you can use to to pay for somebody's movie ticket, to like go out with friends and pay for a meal, or donate to a local nonprofit. The nice thing about generosity is that you'll often have something to give. There'll be some times where you don't really have any money or any time, but usually you'll have a little bit of time, either a little bit of time or a little bit of money that you can use to benefit other people. And if it doesn't feel like you have either, maybe you're a fresh college grad who's really grinding at work, but doesn't have a lot of the skills or experience to demand a higher paying job, and so you don't really feel like you have either. That's okay. You can make time. You can just make 2 hours a week to go help at the local food kitchen, right? Something like that. In order to just kind of flex those muscles a little bit. Just like so many of the other characteristics that we talked about on this channel, it's a muscle that you can flex. You can practice generosity in a small way, helping out once a month or once a quarter for an hour at a food pantry or some other similar organization, and then pretty soon you go, oh, that was actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Maybe once a month, and then you find something that's a little bit more in your wheelhouse as far as what you actually enjoy doing at a different nonprofit, or a different place that you can serve, and that can lead to you wanting to serve in other ways, more frequently, once a month, once a week, even more than once a week, depending on the excitement that you find from these activities that you're able to volunteer in. If you look for them, you'll find that there's a lot of different opportunities to make a difference in other people's lives. And if the time's a little down, then maybe the money will be a little bit up. And maybe when you do have a little bit of time to go out with friends, then maybe you can pay for one of their meals. If you know that their job has been a little bit chaotic, and their work situation hasn't been super consistent, then you can be generous with your money in that way. Even if it's just $5 or $10 here or there. You can also give to causes. There's all sorts of environmental causes. There's also local causes that are often really, really great, that you can support with your time and your money, depending on which is stronger at that time. So I definitely really encourage you to get connected to a local nonprofit or cause that you're passionate about, because there's no telling how many different opportunities can come out of that for generosity in a way that makes you proud of yourself, right? Because there are certain types of generosity that we go, okay, yeah, we helped somebody, but it didn't feel that great. Like, I was so miserable while I was doing it that the bonus of knowing that I helped somebody really doesn't actually do anything for me. And so experiment, find different ways to volunteer or to give, so that you can find a kind of a generosity sweet spot, where it's something that you enjoy doing, or at least enjoy doing a little bit, and that also helps other people, and you can see that as a result, because that's going to help you build momentum and want to keep flexing that generosity muscle and making the world a better place as a result. And if, like me, you've had a hard time with figuring out how much to care about causes or people, then another sweet spot that I talk about is the caring sweet spot in this video. You can check that out. I want to hope you have a great rest of your day.